Luka Modric has danced through pressure his whole life, but in Milan, he may find that even the best can't waltz through wreckage. Serie A respects legends, but it also rarely spares them. Remember Shevchenko's return? This is not just another transfer, it's a dangerous gamble in one of the most tactically brutal leagues in the world. Stay tuned. At point 3, we'll discuss the problem Modric faces with Allegri's demanding system. First things first, and there's no polite way to start this video, a struggling Luka Modric is going to a team that is also struggling. A team with a squad worth around 550 million euros and supported by one of the most loyal fan bases in world football, but finished 8th last year in Serie A. No Champions League, no Europa League, not even the Conference League. After winning the Serie A in 2021-22, they are on a serious downhill, and the team looks lost. They are not playing football for which they are famous for, and are suffering from a lack of leadership in the team. The disintegration wasn't caused by just one event, it was a slow bleed. The departure of technical director Paolo Maldini in 2023 shattered internal harmony. The new club owner, Jerry Cardinale, failed to understand that Maldini is a cultural cornerstone at Milan, who holds many things together at the club, apart from just technical recruitments. With his exit came confusion about direction. It was ambiguous whether Milan was still building for the future or suddenly chasing the past. After this blow, the club had to see managerial turnovers in quick succession, which only deepened the wound. Paulo Fonseca's brief stint was defined by tactical inconsistency, while negotiations with Sergio Conceição collapsed amid boardroom indecision. In desperation, and after changing 3 managers in 3 years, they've turned back to a familiar face of Massimiliano Allegri, who won the Serie A with them in 2011. However, in football, we've seen that bringing back the old coach to solve new problems has rarely ended in glory. Meanwhile, fans are growing restless. The Crew Sud, once Milan's lifeblood, has become divided. Some want a youth-driven rebuild, others yearn for instant leadership. The players on the pitch reflect this confusion too. Some are hungry, some are fading, and most are unsure of what they're playing for. This is the Milan Luka Modric is walking into. Not a legacy club ready for one last dance, but a fractured project with no clear identity. And the deeper problem is that they're not just short on wins. At the moment, they're short on belief as well. Amid all this chaos, Milan has pressed the button for Allegri's rescue project. So, a beloved figure in the city returns as the club's reluctant messiah. His mission? It's to coach and rescue a broken system with the glorious memories and the present's magic. Within days of his appointment, one decision was pushed through with full backing from the board: bring in Luka Modric. On paper, this makes sense. Allegri thrives on discipline, structure, and trusted lieutenants on the pitch. From Pirlo to Marchisio, he's always leaned on experienced midfielders to execute his chessboard-style tactics. Modric offers the same vision, calm, and leadership. However, the context of these available skills has been changed. Like Allegri's previous Milan or Juventus days, he won't be working with a well-coached team. Milan's core is unstable at the moment. Reinders is gone. Bennacer is injury-prone with an uncertain future. Loftus-Cheek is more attacking than structural, and the defense behind them has lost its coherence. Allegri must rebuild from scratch, but the problem is he doesn't have the time for that process. In this situation, Modric's arrival adds a dose of credibility to the locker room. However, it also tightens the time they have. Modric is 39 years old and he's turning 40 in September. He may only have one good year left in European football. The fans want instant impact, and the board will want instant results from the big names like Allegri and Modric. So, before even the start of the season, there are whispers inside Milanello. The direction of their new project, it's uncertain. Is the project meant to rebuild long-term or survive short-term? The answer remains cloudy, but the core of the team is aligning around aged players. This will help a seasoned coach like Allegri to buy some time by giving immediate results with the players who can perform without much acclimatization. Luka Modric would have to be his main man for delivering in the early days of this gamble. For Modric to be a great successor, here comes the critical question: does he still have the legs, lungs, and instincts to thrive in Allegri's demanding system? To analyze this, we have to take a look at Allegri's football philosophy from his coaching career. He is not a high-risk, high-reward coach like Hansi Flick or Antonio Conte. He likes the pragmatic approach of safety first and expression second. He sees midfield as a factory of function and not a stage for artists. This is where the real question begins: can Luka Modric still meet the tactical and physical demands of Allegri's system at 40? Instead of a 3-4-2-1 formation in which AC Milan played an important game against Roma last season for the qualification of the Europa League, Allegri plans to use a traditional traditional midfield trio, where one player shields the backline, one links the play, and one carries the ball forward. Or, in other words, an AM, a CM, and a CDM. Modric, by profile, is the perfect CM. For over a decade at Real Madrid, he's linked play incredibly. He used to control the momentum of the game, pick passes under pressure, and dictate transitions. However, that flair is now the story of the past, and he will not play in La Liga. Serie A demands very different qualities. Italian football punishes hesitation. It's relentless in the midfield, pressing is faster, duels are sharper. In La Liga, you have to deal with high-intensity runs, but in Serie A, you have to face strong duels and more physical players. Modric, with a lean body, still can move the ball faster, but how will he cope with players bigger than him in midfield? Can he recover the ball? Can he run box to box week after week? After the physical needs comes the structure. Allegri demands positional rigidity. Modric is too good a footballer to be an indisciplined one. However, he often thrives in semi-fluid systems. At Real Madrid, he had Casemiro or Tchouaméni to clean up behind him. In Milan, the players of that profile clearly don't exist. Loftus-Cheek is more dynamic than disciplined. Youssouf Fofana, the energetic French midfielder from Monaco, showed hope, but he is still learning the tactical ropes. Ricky and Bondo are both promising, but they've not been under fire to label as reliable or not. The third part of this puzzle, after structure and physicality, is momentum. Allegri wants a slower build-up, which is safe and measured. We've seen Modric's best work under Ancelotti in high-tempo control zones of transitions when Real Madrid played reactive football. The important question is, can he replicate his magical touch in creation, rather than molding destruction? In a nutshell, Modric is in elite shape physically. That's why he's still competing in Europe and not retiring in Saudi Arabia or America. Mentally, he's as sharp as ever. However, if the tactical harmony is not found quickly, Milan may face the worst-case scenario: a legend misused in a system that stifles him rather than unleashing him. Milan's midfield used to be a place of clarity, structure, and creative balance, but as the new season approaches, that balance is suddenly gone. With the departure of Tierney Reinders, the club has lost its most well-rounded midfielder. Reinders was a perfect balance between defense and attack, with a rare blend of intelligence and athleticism. Losing him removes a vital transition piece, and it places even more pressure on the incoming coach and his veteran apprentice. What remains after Reinders feels patched together rather than planned. We've already discussed that Ruben Loftus-Cheek can break lines, but lacks the defensive intelligence for deeper roles. Ismail Benacer, once a midfield linchpin, has seen his form and fitness decline sharply after his injuries. Then, there are players like Fofana and Bondo who have shown promise. However, they are young and eager, but not yet refined. Amid all these problems, we are certain of one thing: Modric's vision and control have all the required ingredients to offer short-term answers, but they won't solve structural imbalances. Their midfield will lack physicality in duels, aerial presence, and a reliable ball winner. The defense will have to overcompensate for this midfield, and both lines will have to be very close in order to fill for each other's weaknesses. This is how Allegri can still make his system compact, which is not an easy task. The solution to these problems is that they have to defend themselves very well. How can they do that? Either sit low block, keep your lines compact, and wait for individual brilliance in counterplays. Obviously, this approach will have backlash for a title-competing team like AC Milan, but it is a practical one. The other option at hand is to run like demons to compensate midfield weaknesses and give chances to Modric for genius moments. The option is highly risky, which we know Allegri won't consider for long. The most challenging thing of all is when you think you've sorted out all the problems and you can follow a certain plan. The intensity and frequency of modern football pose one question again: how will you manage the minutes of your aging squad? Few things are harder for elite athletes than accepting limited minutes. We've seen how Messi, Ronaldo, or Lewandowski get aggressive if the coach wants to sub them. For Luka Modric, a man whose name is etched across Europe's greatest nights, this season might be his most humbling one. Not because he can't compete, but because he might not be allowed to. The competition for minutes is going to be real. Samuel Ricci, just arriving from Torino FC, seems to be Allegri's kind of midfielder. He's disciplined, consistent, and positionally aware. We've already talked about Fofana and Bondo. They're both rising and have legs to cover the ground quickly. All they need is game time to prove or disprove their worth in the squad. Modric's presence complicates this puzzle. If he starts, younger midfielders will have to sit. If he sits, then the locker room may begin to question the symbolic value of his role. A veteran sitting on the bench every week becomes less of a source of leadership and more a reminder of misaligned priorities. We also saw last season that Modric excels when trusted to set the rhythm over long spells. He's not very effective as a super sub or short cameo of 15 minutes. Here, we come back to our old concern again. After a bit of wondering, 90 minutes in Serie A every week, it's a big ask at 40, even for a fine-tuned body like Modric. All in all, the boat of AC Milan is completely about adaptation. Modric will have to redefine his role, use his minutes wisely, and remain a net positive when he isn't always in the starting 11. Otherwise, the weight of his legacy will turn those limited appearances into more pressure than performance. Despite all the concerns, one thing is very certain: Modric didn't come to Milan to retire quietly. He came with fire still in his heart and the World Cup 2026 in his sights. Croatia's golden generation is nearing its twilight, and Modric still remains their spiritual anchor. So, in theory, the physical demands of AC Milan, they offer him the perfect stage to stay sharp while guiding a younger team. But one thing we do know about leadership is that it's not always welcomed. It has to be earned again every time in every locker room. In his new locker room, there's already a silent tension. This is a squad in flux. Some players are looking to take lead of the team, while others are unsure of their future. Among all these, bringing in a figure as iconic as Modric resets the hierarchy once again. Young players will naturally gravitate toward him, but some will feel eclipsed, and this can hurt the combination of the team. At Real Madrid, his leadership came naturally over a decade, anchored by crucial performances in trophy-winning campaigns. At AC Milan, he won't be starting from zero, but he'll have to earn that stature again. The biggest positive for Luka can be Allegri, who is known for protecting veteran voices and who has demanded Luka Modric in his setup. He'll likely shield the Real Madrid legend from criticism and use him as a locker room stabilizer. But this can cut both ways. If performances don't match the pedestal, it will invite unrest. The fans are already divided over this move. A success will win Modric third home in Italy. Otherwise, he'll ruin a royal legacy with a bad final chapter. In the end, this isn't about fairy tales or farewell tours. Milan is broken. Modric is nearly 40. And the midfield is a war zone. This move is not romantic at all. It's career-defining. Either he digs in and fights, or the league chews him up like it does with most aging greats. Legacy doesn't protect you here. Grit will do if you still have it.